Hello, everyone, and welcome to All My Best Friends Are Digital, your podcast about video games and the stories they tell. With me is Caitlin Bailey. Oh, for 1 million Terminator products consumed. How you doing, Caitlin?
I'm doing great. How about you, Mark?
I'm doing much, much better, in part because I have consumed at least the first 2 Terminator movies. But anyway, we're not going to dwell on that. We're just going to check in every once in a while to give Caitlin a hard time, but we're going to move on. We're going to press past it. We're going to forgive her for now, or at least give her a little bit more leash. And we're going to talk about video games. We're going to talk about what we've been playing lately. We're going to talk about Shining Force 2 in our retro game segment, GOOF, Gaming Opinions on Old School Funware. Our feature game this week is Elden Ring Nightreign, or as it is presented in terms of its styling, Elden Ring Nightreign. And then we are going to close things out with some shameless hyping of upcoming titles in our Shout segment. But we begin, as ever. Caitlin, what have you been playing lately?
So I've been playing Cryptmaster, which I'd had my eye on for a while, but I believe was actually recommended by a listener as well. So it's a neat game. It's a combination of genres. It's like this mix of a dungeon crawler / role-playing game / text adventure kind of. So it's first person. It plays a lot like some of those really old dungeon crawler games where, like, you know, you're in a dungeon, you press forward and you move forward a full segment. And it has this really lovely and macabre, like, black and white aesthetic, which makes it really striking. It stands out very much among other modern games. But you play as this group of 4 heroes that have been raised from death by a necromancer called the Cryptmaster. And you've been dead for a while, so you've been stripped of your memories, because we love ourselves some amnesia.
Plot convenient amnesia for the win.
Yeah. You don't really know who you were in life, and you also don't remember any of your abilities in battle. The necromancer who raised you says, like, hey, grab my soul stone and bring it up to the surface, because I got some stuff I want to do on the surface, and you have to do this for me. It's like, okay. So you interact with Cryptmaster, the game, by typing. You can type at any time, so you have to use the arrow keys to move. You can't WASD. I'm sure that if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see me hit W a lot and then backspace and then move forward.
I would imagine, yeah.
Like, you can just type to the Cryptmaster, and sometimes the words you say will prompt the Cryptmaster to speak with you. I think I said a swear word once, and then the whole screen turns black, and the Cryptmaster goes up, and he's like, oh, you think you're edgy, do you? But anyway, over the course of the game, your heroes get these kind of blank spaces on their characters at the bottom of your screen, and those represent, each blank space represents a letter. And as you open chests, defeat enemies, solve puzzles, you get letters, and those letters will fill in the blanks, and eventually, once you have a high enough, you can guess at any time what the words are in those blanks. But eventually, once you actually get it, then your character will either remember something about their past, and you'll have like a little paragraph of story stuff to read, or they will remember a new ability that you can now use in battle. Combat is really neat. It's used by typing in the names of your abilities. Each enemy has a name which represents their hit points, so as you hit them and deal one damage is 1 letter of their name, and when their name is gone, they die. Some of them will have a little thing like, there's these big like cube, like gelatinous cube slime guys, where if you type a certain letter, they will get big and they'll double their hit points and they'll heal to full, and that's bad. Others have a shield, and the shield will block a certain letter, so you can't type anything with an S in it. Stuff like that. It's really, it's weird and neat, and it's really fun. I've been having a very good time with it. I've honestly no idea how far through the game I am, but I'm guessing I'm still somewhere in the first half. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes from there.
It sounds very weird.
It is, yeah.
I mean, that's often a good thing, especially in indie game development. I remember this was recommended to me a while ago, but I passed on the basis that, number one, it sounded an awful lot like Scrabble in an indefined way. And I suppose that from your description that is wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like Scrabble so much. There are puzzles, but none of them, they don't seem that bad. Like, you'll get riddles, and the riddles are very standard, like, when all the lights were stolen, I looked glum, but how do you think I felt? And the answer is delighted, ha 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 ha.
Oh my goodness.
So there's riddles which you use to get souls, which you use for battle. But then there's also like kind of guessing games where like anytime you find a chest, you can't see what's inside. Only the Cryptmaster can see what's inside. So you have to give the Cryptmaster some instructions like, hey, look at it, describe it to me, smell it, touch it. Do you remember what it was used for? And you have to guess what it was, like what the actual item is within a certain limited number of guesses. And if you're correct, then you get all of those letters to fill in the blanks on your characters. So it's not like it's necessary, but yeah, I don't know. It's a weird little game. I honestly have no idea if you would like it or not, if some parts might be a little bit too puzzly, but it's weird, and it's weird in a good way, in my opinion.
Well, there's a demo. You've inspired me to check it out. The other reason why I was ill-inclined to try it was the aesthetic is very well executed, but it's not necessarily an aesthetic that I personally enjoy. Purely a matter of taste. It looks kind of like a high-res version of Inscription meets Obra Dinn, because it's this stark black and white with kind of horror trappings, but it's not really meant to be a horror game. I don't get the sense.
Yeah. It has a lot of humor in it.
Well, that delighted pun, I'm sure, is just gonna crack everybody up.
There is a good amount of eye rolling. But yeah, you definitely should try out the demo and let us know how you like it.
I think we should come up with some kind of award for best or perhaps worst use of plot-convenient amnesia. I'd be tempted to call it the Ashley Riot Memorial Award, except number one, I think the amnesia in Vagrant Story was actually well done, and number two, I don't think anyone would get the reference.
Yeah, that's fair. But we clearly should have an episode that just ranks amnesiac games.
I don't know that I'd be able to come up with a full list. I might have forgotten about a lot of them. That is humor, Cryptmaster. Suck it.
So, what have you been playing lately, Mark?
I've been playing Split Fiction. Not just lately, but I've been playing a little bit here and there because I'm playing it with my buddy TechDweeb. And when we get together, we, for the past few times, play an hour to an hour and a half of Split Fiction local co-op. So It Takes Two, which was the 2022 offering by the same studio, I've been playing with our friend Nathan online, but with my friend TechDweeb, we've been playing Split Fiction, and everything you said about it is absolutely true, and it deserves all the awards that it gets, but I do, very much like It Takes Two, want to stress something. It's even more painful in the context of Split Fiction because Split Fiction is a game about storytelling. It's about authors who want to tell their stories, and the writing in Split Fiction is atrociously bad. It is astonishingly awful, especially given that it is a game about writing. Now, the characters are much more sympathetic than the monsters from It Takes Two. They merely start out as being reprehensible and unsympathetic, as opposed to monsters. We have Zoe, who every other word out of her mouth is published, as in, can I get published? Will you get me published? If I strangle these puppies to death, can I get published? I'm here to get published, etc., etc. One starts to get the impression, after the dozenth such utterance, that that's kind of her thing. Mm-hmm. Subtlety is not Split Fiction's strong suit. And we also have Mio, who is such a misanthrope, who is so unengaged and disinterested in everyone and everything around her. One wonders why she cares about getting published at all. So if anything, it's kind of like at the other end of the spectrum. Whereas always like, I'm here to get published and I will kill anyone who gets in my way. And Mio's response is, I might kill someone just because they're awful, etc. Now, just as an example, furthermore, about the specifically terrible writing on top of the characterization being relatively bad, of course, they learn to work together and they learn the value of friendship. But of course, this is transparently obvious within the first 5 minutes of the scenario. You don't have to make them that obnoxious, and you don't have to make the story that rote anyway. But setting all that aside, something weird happens with a dragon egg. And Zoe exclaims that it is egg-tastic. Now look, there are any number of lines from Split Fiction or It Takes Two that I could spend a lot of time on, but I'm going to take time on this one. Do you know why? Because it's egg, Caitlin. Excellent, exquisite, extraordinary. They're right there.
There's so many better words.
What the hell is eggtastic? That's nothing.
Eggtastic.
That is literally nothing. And so, unlike It Takes Two, where I saw the lame joke coming a mile away, and I felt bad merely uttering it, and if I had the opportunity to put it to paper or suggest that it make the final version of a video game product, I literally would have been too ashamed. Here, there was an utterance so mysteriously awful that I was just reeling at all the obvious, less awful, but still awful things they could have used instead.
Mm-hmm.
Now, saying it, I realize there's a 1% chance that was kind of the point, but I don't think Split Fiction is nearly self-aware enough to make that kind of reach. Anyway, so what's the game about? Well, the game is about Zoe and Mio learning to become less reprehensible people and the magic of friendship, etc., etc. But the way I would describe it is that it's basically a series of set pieces, and games like this can often go very, very bad. Like, I remember, this is a bit of a pull, but I remember Resident Evil 6, and when it was presented as an incredibly mediocre game, and it's nothing more than a series of set pieces, I thought, but I like set pieces. Set pieces can be fun. And Resident Evil 6 is incredibly boring and doesn't cohere at all. Split Fiction, here's where the incredibly simplistic setup kind of helps. So it does kind of cohere. Basically, what you're doing is you're going through the various worlds that the authors have written about, and you're, living through and gamifying their stories in relatively straightforward ways. And so it hangs together fine. And the set pieces, although relatively simple, you flagged this, and this is the main reason why I wanted to try Split Fiction, was that there's a fair amount of gameplay variety. You don't ever have any particularly in-depth mechanisms, but there's a pretty good change-up about what you'll be doing. On top of this setup, where you're pinging back and forth between main worlds where it's either one of Mio's stories, in which case it's science fiction, that's why I play as Mio, or it's a fantasy story, in which case it's one of Zoe's stories, and that's why Tech2 plays as Zoe. Tech2 likes fantasy and I like science fiction, so it works out. You also have these side stories, so on top of the fact that all the main levels have all this variety, even they have these little 20 to 30 minute throwaways in the middle. It's like, okay, well, this little gameplay gimmick that we thought of couldn't really even support a 2-hour level, but here's a little amuse-bouche, a little bagatelle of something. Now you're a magical farting pig. Go. Yeah. And nothing is stunning. Nothing is strikingly original, either in terms of setting or in terms of the gameplay mechanisms. It's just a lot of fun variety. It's like, oh, we're doing this now. That's cool. There's some things you generally do, like you always have a double jump, you always have the dodge, and you always have a little grapple thing. But it mixes things up just enough, and the visual variety in particular is quite striking. It's a very good-looking game. I was not prepared for how good-looking Split Fiction was going to be. Because, again, the world of Split Fiction is not very well rendered, but visually, the worlds of Zoe and Mio are very, very well executed. Mm-hmm. And consequently, that helps with the gameplay variety and the whole set-piece adventure thrill ride kind of thing hanging together. Like, there's this trick that they pull a bunch of times where you're either falling or sliding, and all you're really doing is just dodging things and ducking under things and jumping over things. And they do it over and over and over again. And every time it happens, I'm like, whee! And I have a great time with it.
Yeah.
It's just extraordinarily well done. Now, again, the overall theming is relentlessly obnoxious, but it's hardly unique to Split Fiction. In fact, you don't see it as often in video games as you do in movies or music or television, because so often in those other media, books especially, novels, oh my goodness, if I read one more novel about a novelist who's struggling to be a novelist and who's noveling about novelizing, it's like, oh, give me a break. Or, songs about being a rock star, or movies about filmmaking. It's like, yeah, we get it. You're so in love with your own craft that you want to crawl all the way up inside your digestive tract. We understand. So yeah. I guess video games get to have this once or twice. And so this is a story about storytelling. Sure, fine. I just wish the writing were better. Anyway, it's been a blast to play. It's so delightfully diverting, and things keep moving at a good clip, and you're doing lots of different things and lots of different visually compelling environments, that it's fine that I really still don't like the two main characters, and all the actual story beats are so predictable and clumsily executed.
Yeah.
It's an extraordinary achievement, really. I'll say the same thing I said about It Takes Two. If they could just hire a better writer, these games would be so much better, and they're already great. So part of me wonders what they'd be able to accomplish if they had someone that could actually string these things together or make compelling characters, or sympathetic characters at least, and some decent dialogue.
For real. I mean, to me, one of the worst / most insulting parts of Split Fiction was the villain. Because he's just the worst cardboard cutout of a villain that I could possibly imagine. Like,
he at least is doing his job in the story, right?
yes.
Like, we immediately hate him. He's smarmy. He's cliched. He's ridiculous. The protagonists, on the other hand, are just really unpleasant people for the first little bit. Again, not as bad as It Takes Two.
No.
It Takes Two was just so bone-chillingly awful, and how much I hated the two main protagonists. How they were such reductive, even gendered cliches about mediocre parenting. Like, it was just so bad. Split Fiction, at least, they're, just independent young people who are here and we hate them, but whatever.
Oh, Split Fiction. I love it so much, but you make so many valid points.
It's extraordinary. Like, one of the reasons why I complain so much about the writing and the characterizations is that the rest of the game is such a compelling package, and the experience of playing it is so great. And then when either one of the main characters opens their mouths, I'm like, skip. Can we skip now? Like, I'm never tempted to do that, and I would never suggest doing such a thing. I love talking about video game stories. I would never skip a cutscene.
Yeah.
I hate them so much.
You know what's going to happen? Zoe is going to be a wounded puppy because Mio said something a little bit mean, and move on.
Caitlin, if you had the job of writing those video games, you on your first draft would make a much more compelling experience, I am certain.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
with a crayon and 3 cocktail napkins, you could do a better job than this. It's wild.
They're a little too comfortable with letting the characters be very one-dimensional for, just pretty much most of the game. It's like, okay, I get it. You can let them be a little one-dimensional at the beginning just to kind of give them each, the gist of who they are as people, but let's give them something else to work with other than Mio's cranky and, oh god, I forget her name already.
Zoe.
And Zoe's, emotional and, hurt by everything Mio ever does.
Yes, and relentlessly career-driven in a very strange and specific way.
Relentlessly.
The other thing that's kind of tonally off, I don't know, this is just people have preferences. I prefer science fiction over fantasy, all things being equal. But how many people in fiction generally, whether it's literature or anything else, are like, I really like this one kind of speculative fiction, and I think other kinds of speculative fiction are dumb and stupid.
Yeah, that was me when I was 15.
That I think speaks volumes.
I've moved on from there. I now like a variety of genres, although I prefer fiction to nonfiction. But
no, sure, but even in the context of speculative fiction, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's no daylight between fantasy and science fiction. They're very different in a lot of ways, and they tend to lend themselves to different stories. But is there a huge, massive audience who's going to be playing this game and picking Mio because they prefer science fiction? It's like, yeah, fantasy's dumb. Because that's what the character...
I don't know.
Them being obnoxious and unpleasant people wasn't alienating enough. They aggressively crap on the genre of the other... so they have no respect for each other personally, and they have no respect for half of the audience who might strongly prefer fantasy over science fiction or vice versa. It's just... It's so strange.
It's very odd. And like I said, that is an opinion I would have held when I was 15.
Sure.
And, I eventually moved on from that because I grew up a little.
There we go. Perhaps we are being unkind. What we need to do in order to evaluate the quality of the writing is see what 15-year-olds think. Yes. And whether it strikes them as sophisticated dialogue and plot development.
Let's do it. I don't know any 15-year-olds, but,
I have nothing against 15-year-old sensibilities, but I don't get the impression that Split Fiction was being pitched to their interests in particular. For one thing, there are 0 skibbity toilets.
I don't know. 15-year-olds down with skibbity toilets? I hate everything about this. We should move on.
Agreed. So, that was Split Fiction. We're now going to move on to our gaming opinions on old school funware with Shining Force 2. This was published in 1993 for the Mega Drive in Japan and 1994 for the Genesis in North America. Caitlin, why don't you tell us all about Shining Force 2?
All right, so I decided to play Shining Force 2 on the Nintendo Switch Sega Genesis collection because it's available for free if you have the Nintendo Switch Online subscription. And it has like a couple nice quality of life improvements. The one that I like best is the ability to rewind your game. So if you do something silly, you just rewind and you can have a redo. But anyway, Shining Force 2 is the story of Bowie and his friends.
I think Bowie's friends are called the Spiders from Mars.
Oh, really?
That's a cultural reference for the kids right there. Right up there with Skibbity Toilet.
They're from the Kingdom of Grandseal, and they're just enjoying a normal day of adventurer school when their teacher learns that the king has fallen ill, and he rushes off to the king's side, and the students are curious, and naturally they make up some lies in order to follow their teacher into the castle. While there, they learn that the Tower of Ancients is open, and there are these demons called gizmos, apparently. It's a interesting choice. Gizmos, that are breaking free. So you show up, and your teacher's like, hey, you're not supposed to be here, but you may as well help me out with defeating gizmos. And thus starts Shining Force 2. It very quickly becomes this whole thing where there's this neighboring, or not even just a neighboring kingdom, but an ally of Grandseal that decides that they're going to invade Grandseal because one of their messengers got killed. And a bunch of people are like, this is weird. The king seems to be kind of acting a little out of character, but that's okay. We listen to everything he says. Shining Force 2. I had no idea that this was a tactical role-playing game until we got to the first fight. I just assumed it was like a normal, like, quote, normal, like, JRPG, like, you know, all your characters are in a row and you do attacks. I love Chester.
Yes, Chester the knight who doesn't ride a horse, but is a horse.
He is a horse. When I first saw his sprite, I was like, oh, his legs look a little weird. What's going on here? And then I move, I'm like, oh my god, he's a centaur. That's amazing.
Yeah, centaur knights, might as well.
Yeah, so, I don't know, what did you think of Shining Force 2?
Well, I didn't know too much about what to expect. I just knew that Shining Force was this very well-regarded series, especially Shining Forces 2 and 3. And I knew that it was a tactical thing, but I didn't know, like, pretty much my touchstone for tactical RPGs is Fire Emblem. And anything that isn't, like, Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics, I'm not really too sure. Like, I still want to try the original Ogre Battle, because there's Ogre Battle Tactics, which is just, again, very similar. But then there's the original Ogre Battle, which is an entirely different thing by itself. And I was a little surprised at how much Shining Force 2 is very, very much like Fire Emblem. In that, you know, you've got the grid, you've got more or less the same stats, you go and you attack, and then that leads to a little animated cutscene thing of the dudes wailing on each other. It's a little bit unlike Fire Emblem in that there's no automatic counterattack when you are attacked, so that changes a lot of the overall dynamics of how you're going to be fighting. And you tended to have slightly smaller squad sizes in Shining Force than in Fire Emblem. But other than that, the similarities I found quite striking. I was a little bit nervous about, very often, like series you've never tried before, a little bit nervous about like how janky does it feel, given that it was a game released in 1993. Yeah. And I was very pleased with the visuals, for one thing. You've got these lovely character portraits, and the battle animations are sparse but very effective with nice large sprites. I remember when I first played Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance, and as I've been very clear on the show before, lavishly animated two-dimensional sprites will win me over every time. Shining Force doesn't have that. Like 2 or 3 sprites, maybe, in their animations. But nonetheless, it's effective. It works. It's nice. And it moves along at a great clip. I was quite surprised at the pacing, because that's another way in which 1990s RPGs typically don't respect your time. The text is super fast, and you can make it even faster. Everybody moves very quickly. Like, when people emulate games, especially like old turn-based JRPGs, like the Pokemon games especially, the first thing they figure out how to do in RetroArch is fast forward, so they can go and do this at hyper speed. But in Shining Force 2, you walk really quick. I'm not saying there's no reason to fast forward things, but nonetheless, I was just surprised. And the amount of between battle faffing about is very, very minimal. You move from set piece to set piece very, very quickly. Some of the battles are a little overlong. I'm not necessarily going to defend all of it, but when you're in the middle of a battle, I very much appreciated being able to save in the middle, because I was emulating the Genesis original. If I were playing this on original hardware, only being able to save not even between every battle, but between some battles, I think I would regard as very painful.
Yes, definitely.
But all told, with a couple of exceptions that I'm going to get to in a minute, it felt very current, very contemporary, and it stands remarkably equal with a lot of the older Fire Emblems.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed. I mean, the main thing that I was missing from battles was the ability to, like, I don't care. I don't want to see the camera pan all the way to the other side of the battlefield just so a guy can decide to not move. I don't care. But that was probably the main, like, thing from Fire Emblem, or at least from more recent Fire Emblems, because I haven't played the older Fire Emblems that I was missing. Was just, skip enemy animations. I don't care what they're doing if they're not directly hitting me.
The two things that I very much missed from more contemporary games was, number one, the ability to highlight an enemy unit and it to show me on the map what their movement range was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because another thing that surprised me about Shining Force 2, battles are deadly. Your units will die. Yeah. And I actually lost the first fight. I'm like, this is a training battle. Yeah, this is the training battle. Ain't no thing. What?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm used to, like, always just having all my units just move right up into the action. But when you do that in Shining Force 2, that means all of the enemies will come for you. Versus, like, otherwise, if you aren't in range, if one of them can't move to attack you, they're not going to move towards you. And you really have to pace yourself with approaching the enemies in order to not get overwhelmed. That really surprised me. I was not prepared.
Yeah, the AI is pretty stupid, but they calibrated it really well. Like, they're not very sophisticated in tactics, but one of the things is, they're not just going to advance to the middle of nowhere just so you can take the first strike, broadly speaking. Yeah. And so you have to be careful because of how, eventually your units get more beefy. I found that there was kind of after gaining a few levels, there was a little bit less of a danger of dying in a couple shots, but that's another difference in Fire Emblem. Like, your units tend to get pretty beefy and can stand there and take about sometimes 5, 6, 7 shots if they're, especially if they happen to be a Centaur Knight or what have you.
Yes, good old Chester.
The other thing that I found obnoxious in terms of the interface was there is no ability to see who's going to go next. The activation order is interleaved based on some mysterious combination of stats, I assume, and you just don't know who's going to go next, and that gets pretty difficult. There's also some balancing stuff that I could quibble with. Like, it's really hard to keep your healer leveled with everybody else. You get a unit later on who's underleveled and very, very bad at doing attack damage directly, and so it's very difficult to keep them at a good level, because that's the only way you get experience points.
Yeah. Yeah, because you get so much more experience for killing something than you do for hitting them. So I'd, like, whittle down a dude to 1 hit point and then make everyone wait until the underleveled person could hit them, and hopefully they wouldn't miss. Because if they missed, then that was a whole thing and I'd have to wait.
And it's even worse than that. In Fire Emblem and in most RPGs, the amount of experience points you get is based on the relative level of the target and the actor. So if you're a very, very low level character and you plink at a high level boss or something, you'll get a lot, more experience points than you might expect. In Shining Force, the number of experience points you get is kind of modified by that, but it is more modified by how effective the thing you did was.
Yes.
So if you're level terrible and you attack somebody who's level decent and you do 1 or 2 points of damage, the game is going to be like, oh, nice try, loser, and give you a very, very small number of experience points. And so it's very easy. It's just things aren't balanced with a sort of modern sensibility. So healers and low-level characters just kind of get left in the dust. And such is the nature of things. It is what it is. Have you met Peter the Phoenix?
No, I have not met Peter.
Peter the Phoenix is my favorite character. He's amazing because you can start to recruit beasts who, they're called beasts, and they look like animals, but they're fully sapient individuals who just talk like normal dudes. And Peter looks like a yellow pelican or stork. And he shows up and be like, oh, it's a giant bird. And he's like, yo, I'm a giant bird. And people are like, wait, are you a phoenix? The legendary phoenix? And Peter always responds the same way. He's like, oh, I don't know about legendary, but it's amazing. He just sounds like some dude. And he's this giant bird. And he's always so modest when anyone calls him legendary. It's hilarious. I love Peter. He's amazing. The writing isn't great, but it's got a fair bit of personality.
Peter's art is so cute.
Yeah, he's not bad.
It does not look like a phoenix to me, but I love it.
No, he really doesn't. He's just a yellow stork. That's kind of what he looks like. Can I tell you something incredibly geeky and technical about Shining Force 2?
Yes, go for it.
So the Genesis games are 4:3 aspect ratio. So the normal aspect ratio of your Western CRT. And the Super Nintendo and Nintendo games were kind of ambiguous as to whether they were designed for 4:3 or 8:7. It can kind of go either way. And so broadly speaking, in the emulation community, generally, if you've got a 16:9 or a 4:3 device, you set it to 4:3. If you have a square device, and there's an increasing number of square devices or nearly square devices, you set it by 8:7. And they look fine either way, interestingly different. Shining Force was one of a small number of Genesis games designed in 8:7. And so if you have it set to the pixel aspect ratio, in other words, what the designers intended, it will look narrower than your traditional 4:3 content.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I first loaded it up on my Neo Edge, and I noticed that the black bars were wider than they would normally be.
Yeah.
For 4:3 content, and I started digging because I didn't know that there were any Genesis games that were designed in 8:7. And so sure enough, if you think that your squares look stretched, if they don't look like squares on the map, that may be because whatever you're playing on has forced it to be in a different aspect ratio. So I played it on my Retroid Pocket Classic, which is a pretty good 8:7 screen, and it looked great in that context.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've only recruited one beast character so far. I recruited the turtle, because he's really cute, and I named him Grubby after my dog.
Oh, good call. Have you found the turtle's special ability?
No, I have not yet done combat with the turtle.
So I was initially very worried because Turtle starts out very underpowered in attack. Mm-hmm. He gets better and starts with 7 hit points, which in the context of Shining Force 2 is not many hit points.
That's like 1 hit.
Then I saw what happens when your beefy knight or goblin or whatever shows up and whacks the turtle as hard as they can, and Turtle takes 1 damage. And that is why Turtle is boss.
Nice. Okay. I like that.
Turtle doesn't like being hit by magic, but against physical attacks, Turtle is very, very difficult to bring down.
Fair enough. I guess he's got a big old shell on his back.
And the way he attacks is he hits people with his hat.
That's adorable.
This actually reminds me of another strange thing from games of this era. It's such a minor thing, but it's such a huge pet peeve, and I'm curious if you have the same experience. Mm-hmm. So at the beginning of the game, you're asked to name the main character, and the background information calls him Bowie, but you can name him whatever you want. And you've got the full keyboard, and so I named the main character whatever I was going to name them, and like a sane person, I did it with normal orthography. Yes. Capital initial letter, and then minuscule letters. But every character in your party, and this is so common amongst RPGs of this era, I don't know why, is in all caps.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, God. You can tell who's going to be in your party, pretty much, if somebody's talking about them and they call them by an all caps name. You're like, oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah. And so you have 2 choices. You either have your main character in all caps, in which case it looks dumb, or you have them rendered normally, in which case it doesn't match the rest of the party members. And so it sticks out on all the menus.
Yeah. Drives me nuts. I hate it.
I hate it so much too. Okay, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
It immediately reminded me of other games from the early 90s that pulled this crap, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, like, if you're gonna do this to all the player characters, then just give me an all-caps keyboard. Don't let me make, an ass of myself by writing a name normally and then being like, haha, you're different than all your party members.
So I gotta say, if I had a Genesis back in the day, or if I had a Genesis now, there's a high possibility that I might find Shining Force 2 to have the battles be a little bit too long between save states, and maybe I might have even found it repetitive. But I gotta say, for somebody who mostly plays things through emulation, who can save at any time and jump back in at any time, I'm having a great time with Shining Force 2. And I'm looking forward to just being able to pick it up for 15 minutes at a time going forward. Because as I say, the connective tissue bits between battles tend to be very, very brief. It's like, go to that town in the northwest. Like, okay. And then off you go, off to the next fight. And so this is perfect for pick up and play gameplay. And so in a modern context with contemporary technology, Shining Force 2 is a treat.
Yeah. I have been very surprised by how much I liked it. I, too, was a bit apprehensive going in, just because you never know what you're going to get with a game from 1993. And neither of us, I guess, had the nostalgia to help boost it up a little. But
100%.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Good. I'm very glad. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing some more Shining Force right now. And when and if I finish Shining Force 2, there's Shining Force 3 in the Saturn, which everyone says is the best one. But I'm just happy with my little 2D horsey dudes, my little turtle, Peter the Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, I have to actively work to make sure that Chester stays similar level to everyone else, because otherwise he's just 8 miles ahead of everybody else because he's half horse, just wailing on people and taking no damage. He is the perfect character, and I love Chester.
You don't want to let your party's experience levels to get off track.
Yes.
Do you get it? Because Chester's a horse, and
yes,
they might get off track because Chester's a horse.
Yes,
it's important to me that you get it.
I get it. Thank you.
Okay. So that's Shining Force 2, Caitlin's newest horse game. Any game can be a horse game if you want it badly enough.
It's true.
We're now going to take a brief break to pay some bills. And we're back. On to our feature game, Elden Ring Nightreign. FromSoftware this year. This is a spin-off of Elden Ring. Elden Ring was an open-world, Dark Souls-y kind of thing. Whereas Elden Ring is a co-op, sort of raid-ish based sort of thing. Basically, the way I describe it is you've got Dark Souls that kind of established the fundamentals of the combat engine. And they turned it into an open-world thing with Elden Ring. And then they said, what if we took this thing and turned it into PUBG or Fortnite? And that's how they came up with Nightreign. You're dropped onto a map. It's kind of procedurally generated with little hotspots here and there. And there's this obnoxious ring of blue fire that I hate with so much passion and sincerity that gradually closes in until eventually you have a boss encounter. And maybe you get to do this a couple times before fighting the final boss. And that's more or less how it works. What are your thoughts on Elden Ring Nightreign, Caitlin?
Yeah, so Nightreign apparently takes place in an alternative timeline of the Lands Between, following the events of the Shattering, which it's been so long since I played Elden Ring, I don't remember what the Shattering is.
Something about decay and gods going crazy. I mean, it's a Dark Souls game. It's all about decay and gods going crazy.
Yeah. You play as a Nightfarer, and these are people who are tasked with defeating the Night Lord, because the Night Lord is, I guess, causing that. I know, it sounds so
all these proper
ridiculous.
Nouns are just so, cliched.
Please let me, apply some eyeliner and, dye my hair black, and it's going to be great. But apparently, that blue stuff that we hate so much is caused by the Night Lord, so that's why we want to kill them.
Sure. So this is all about improving the weather.
We just have to make sure there's not destructive rain and stuff, because that's bad for the environment. As usual, I found the Archer character and then refused to play anything else, because shooting things with arrows is really fun. So Mark and I had the opportunity to play together a number of times this week, because the patch that we mentioned, who knows how many episodes ago, finally came out. And the game should be now balanced for 2 players.
Is it, though?
We were all aboard the struggle bus for most of our runs, until we had the blessed run, where we just got up to level 13 somehow, and, actually killed the Night Lord. And that was really, really fun. And then I doubt I'll ever be able to repeat that experience of feeling so powerful.
I'm sure there are people who are knee-deep in the guts of the numbers and data mining Nightreign and all over the meta. I am not that person. But I can tell you that, although I very much appreciate that FromSoftware has tried to do some balancing, initially it was supposed to have modes for a full 3-person team, and there was some token efforts to balance it for 1 player. But let me tell you something. There's no way you can really balance a game like this for those different player counts. The difference between playing alone and playing with 3 people is huge in a game of this nature. You can kind of get away with it, and I've had some fun at different player counts in a game like Helldivers, when there's just a swarm of incredibly weak enemies. And if the swarm is a quarter of the size it would be otherwise, okay, fine, you can kind of balancing it. When there's one huge boss, and it's going to be paying attention to 1 character at a time, I'm sorry, the difference between 1 player and 3 players is huge. I don't care what the numbers are underneath it. It's either going to be wailing on you 100% of the time or wailing on you about 33% of the time, and that's a huge difference. And so I didn't play Nightreign before the quote-unquote 2-player patch, but having played it after the 2-player patch, I can definitely tell you that playing with 3 players is by far easier than anything else that I've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, even just the amount of wiggle room you get when you're playing in a 3-player party and you end up accidentally dying, having 2 people attempting to res you, or 1 person who can distract the boss while the other person reses you, that's huge. I mean, if Mark or I ever died, odds were real good that the run was over if we died on a boss.
Which is kind of my overall impression about what's going on in Nightreign. In so many ways, the game itself, a given run, the overall design parameters are very particular and sometimes fragile, right? We have a situation where, you don't make a strong enough start, not really enough. There's not really a reason to keep going. Oh, you died in the wrong place, you're never going to get those runes back. Oh, you didn't find a good enough weapon, even though you scoured the map, it's going to be a rough go. Don't have the right numbers, don't have the right timing, don't have enough time. It's just, there's a whole bunch of ways in which Nightreign is a very, very specific design set of parameters, which is kind of okay. I mean, games get to be whatever they want to be. This is a game for 3 players. And I will say, I've played with randos. Playing with randos in Nightreign is much better than playing with randos in most games. I'd say the platonic ideal for me, the best rando times I've ever had are like playing Destiny Strikes, because that really doesn't matter what the randos are doing. And so it's kind of a fun competition to see who can mow down more people more quickly. The stakes are very low. Yeah. I've played with randos playing Helldivers. Never again. Just too many ways for them to mess things up and grief you or whatever. It's playing with randos in Nightreign isn't terrible, especially since you're really supposed to play with 3. I mean, it's great playing with just Caitlin. Then it's super chill in comparison, and we're all on the same page all the time. But it's just a lot more difficult that way, frankly.
Yeah, I have not played with randos. I honestly, I was thinking about this this morning. I probably could have played Elden Ring Nightreign with randos and been fine. I've had a handful of bad experiences playing with randos in other games. Anytime voice is required, especially, is just bad.
Yes.
But given that there's no voice chat in Nightreign, it'd probably be fine. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're just going to die a bunch and be like, okay, well, that sucks. But yeah, I think it probably would have been fine. Not having any chat is so much better than having any form of chat whatsoever.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of a double-edged sword, because it's not like a raid, or it's not like one of your more complicated online experiences where there's a whole bunch of synergies to be had and a whole bunch of timing. It's more or less straightforward. The boss is paying attention to me. I need to worry about defense. The boss is not paying attention to the 2 of you. Wail on his bum. Reasonably straightforward. You don't really need voice chat in order to remind people. It's like, hey, his back is turned to you. Attack now. That's fine. Or like, I've been downed. Can someone please res me? Like, this is straightforward. So it's a simpler experience, but in that sense, it's a little more robust. So I talked about how fragile Nightreign is, and I really stand by that. There's a whole bunch of ways in which your experience can fall short of the ideal. But honestly, I think it's been well calibrated and designed to be played so that it is rando friendly. I'm not encouraging anyone to play with randos if they don't want to play with randos. And I completely understand why a female presenting person would not want to engage in the cesspit that is voice chat with randos online.
Yeah.
No judgment whatsoever. I'm completely with you. But Elden Ring Nightreign doesn't make you do those things, which is nice.
Yes, very much.
So I do find it often frustrating, frankly. I talked before about how if you die because of the blue fire, well, then that means that all your stuff, all your leveling stuff is behind the blue fire. You're never getting it back. And so you might be able to recover. And obviously your margin for error is higher if you've got more friends to even it out. But honestly, sometimes I look at it and say, do I really want to spend another 20 minutes on this run when I know it's probably going to be futile? That's a little rough.
Yeah. One of the aspects of the menu that I find a little questionable is there's no way, at least that I know of, to just vote to stop a run. I just want to stay in my party, go back to Nighthold, and try again. And as far as I could tell, there's not a way to do that. You can quit to main menu. But if you try to rejoin too quickly, I think it'll actually put you back in the game that you just quit. Which is great if you accidentally disconnect. It's not great if the three of you are collectively agreeing to start over.
Sure. The process of my coming to appreciate Elden Ring Nightreign is mostly appreciating all the ways in which it really isn't very much like Elden Ring at all. Well, no, I mean, Elden Ring is such a singular experience in that it's about exploration and wonder and experimentation, trying new builds and trying weird things that you find and min-maxing this and fiddling with the RPG elements, beating bosses through what feels like exploits, but you know they're not really cheating because the game is designed around those kinds of exploits, right?
Yeah.
When you introduce the time pressure and you strip out the RPG elements, you end up with something that is completely different in feel. You don't have time to scrutinize the stats of this new thing you found on the ground. You either take it and run, or you leave it and run. You can't stand there for more than a few seconds because you just don't have the luxury of the time. There's no time to experiment. There's no time to try new things.
Yeah.
You have character differentiation. They're kind of like preset builds, kind of, sort of. But past that, you need to hit the ground running and do the thing your character is supposed to do.
Every session of Elden Ring Nightreign is tense. Like, you don't have time dilly-dally. Like, in the first 10 seconds of each run, we're like, okay. There's a church over there. We want to get some more potions. So what do we want to hit on the way? Cool. Got it. Let's go. And you don't have time to waffle and be like, oh, well, what if we went and did this? Or what if we did that instead? Like, no. And after you finish an area, you better know where you're going next, because otherwise you're just going to waste more time. And I mean, the number of times that I think with anybody that I've played with, both Mark and my other friends, that we would almost kill a boss before the blue fire comes in. It's like, no! So frustrating.
It's the worst feeling. And then you're shoved into the boss encounter and your timing was just off, so you don't have enough time to heal before the boss encounter starts. Yep. And it just, you're slightly off your rhythm. You're not quite on the path. But on the other hand, as you say, sometimes you have a blessed run. Just bam, 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 bam. Everything falls into line. And it feels amazing.
Yeah.
Because, make no mistake, when I'm good at Elden Ring, when I'm good at Nightreign, it's not because I have mastered the reflexes of the perfectly timed dodge roll. It's because my equipment and stats are so good that I'm able to blunt force my way through an encounter.
Yeah.
There are some games where sometimes I feel like I'm genuinely mastering the system. Like Sifu, I got to the point where I felt like I was actually pretty decent at Sifu. Returnal, I felt like I was pretty good at Returnal. I've never felt particularly good at Elden Ring or Nightreign. It's just, I happened to get the right set of things in line to be able to do the thing. I see some people play these games well, and it's truly impressive. I've just never been there. And I keep expecting that someday, maybe after bashing my head against this combat system over years and years and years, I'll get there. But no, it's just not happening.
Nope, not at all. Yeah, I mean, I feel like in a lot of Souls-like games, I either get lucky or I manage to get good enough experience or good enough levels, good enough equipment, whatever, to be able to just brute force it more than somebody else. You don't necessarily have the luxury of the time to over level in Nightreign, so you really have to rely on the RNG of the stuff you get, or you need to get good. And if I haven't gotten good by now, I don't think it's going to happen.
Elden Ring and the Dark Souls games are very much the games that tell you to L2P nub. And I'm sure that in response to all of my criticisms, Nightreign would just tell me to uninstall and move on with my life. But nonetheless, when a boss grinds my face into the dirt, that's fine. That is what it is. I thought I lost. Okay.
Yeah.
But when I almost kill a boss, and then the blue fire calls time, or when I almost kill a boss, but then the blue fire finishes me off, and so I'm never getting those runes back, then I'm frustrated, and then I'm not enjoying Nightreign, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wish that it could have internalized the urgency in a way that didn't feel quite so exploitive. Like, I get it. The Dark Souls games are meant to be brutal. They're meant to be brutal and unforgiving and often unfair. And sometimes you use that to your advantage because, as I said, sometimes your wins are unfair.
Yeah.
But that blue fire, man, I sometimes, like, I don't know off the top of my head how I would redesign it, but I think that there's a version of Nightreign that would be able to keep the time pressure and not be quite so frustrating on those times when it calls time.
Yeah, I mean, over the hours that I've played, I've gotten a better sense for when I can actually make an attempt to go for a certain camp before the fire gets there. I've learned that, like, yeah, the ring moves and then it stops for a while. It's not, like, I don't know. When I first started playing, I honestly thought that it was just constantly moving very slowly. It's not.
Right.
It is so frustrating to lose all your stuff and to just know, like, okay, I mean, I guess this run's kind of over, except my friends didn't lose all their stuff, so I guess I'm just gonna hobble along and hope that I can somehow make up for it. But then you lose on the third day, and you're like, well, wouldn't it be cool if I had those 60,000 souls that I dropped in the fire? And I mean, the answer is, don't do that, but, you don't do it on purpose. Yeah.
Have I not been clear about L2P, Nub?
Yeah.
You get better at reading the map. You get better at evaluating your time. It still happens, though. Like, I'm as I made it very, very clear, I am no expert on Elden Ring. I am no expert on Nightreign, but I played a lot. I played a fair bit of both of these games. I've got a solid amount of hours, and I'm still finding myself completely getting flat-footed by miscellaneous events. When I turn a corner and I see those bronze-armored super chads, and I'm sent running away screaming like a small toddler, that's fine. That's okay. I'm just no good at fighting those things. They will kill me. That's all right. Even if they do kill me, they're not very fast. I can go grab my souls and be on my way. That's all right. That's fine.
Yeah.
But that experience of, okay, that giant elder dragon, we've been wailing away at its ankles for a few minutes. Okay, I think we got, time to leave.
Yep.
That part's less fun, I find.
Yeah, because then it's like, okay, well, I guess I just wasted a ton of time and I could have spent it somewhere else and I'd be much better off. And it's a very painful lesson that you don't learn it just once and then you never make that mistake again, because it's hard to judge these things. You don't know how long it'll take to kill a certain boss.
And I have to assume that one of the reasons why I'm spending so much time internalizing that lesson properly is precisely because of how much freedom and how much time to breathe you have in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Like, some people play these games fast. That's fine. They can do that. But my impression is that a lot of people, like myself, are very methodical and slow when it comes to, in part because it's so fun to just live in the world of Elden Ring and see all this stuff. But when a boss shows up and it's a giant dragon, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay far away for a while and see how this thing does its business.
Yeah.
But in the context of Elden Ring Nightreign, they expected that you remember how it works in Elden Ring, or you've already done this enough time in the runs, or you're willing to just YOLO, because there ain't no time to do that, because the blue fire will come to get you.
Yep.
So, do you think you're going to keep playing Nightreign? I know that you play online multiplayer games on the reg. You've been playing lots of repo over the course of weeks. I know you still got your Final Fantasy XIV business going on. Is Nightreign going to stay in the rotation?
So, honestly, if we hadn't killed Three-Headed Dog Boss, then I think the answer might have been no. Mm-hmm. But now there's all these other bosses, and I want to try them out and see what they're like. So,
yeah,
odds are pretty good that I'm going to play Nightreign again, despite the many frustrations, despite the fact that I really wish that I had more time to explore. It's a deeply flawed game, but when it works well.
I agree with you intuitively. I'm not sure whether I would call it flawed. I would say it's calibrated to a set of expectations and preferences that are not my own.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
It's flawed for me.
Yeah, same here. My enthusiasm for Nightreign is such that I still load up solo runs. I know I'm not going to get very far at all. I know that I'm not even doing much meta progression, and I know I'm not acquiring skills. I just like the look of the place. I like the enemies. It's a cool place, and the characters are all neat. I like playing around with the characters and their special abilities.
Yeah.
That's a testament to how much I enjoy Nightreign. Like, I'm still learning a little bit more about the rhythm. I get a little bit better, maybe a tiny little bit better every fifth time, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to exaggerate the extent to which I'm improving. It's very slow and very, very difficult, but it is what it is. I love it. It's for all the frustrations, for all the fact that I feel like it's trying to get me to learn skills that I'm not learning. It's just really cool. It's not Elden Ring, but it's close. Or at least, it's not Elden Ring, but it's not Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And frankly, that's enough for me for now.
Yeah, I can accept that.
Sadly, though, it is very much not a horse game, and Elden Ring was a horse game.
Indeed. Yes, there is no torrent. Very sad.
So that was Elden Ring Nightreign. We're going to close things out with some shameless hyping of upcoming titles. Caitlin, what are you looking forward to?
Today, I'm looking forward to Once Upon a Katamari. A new Katamari Damacy game. It's coming out in October. So far, honestly, so I've played a number of Katamari games, and none of them have quite had the same effect on me as the very first one. And that's possibly because just when Katamari Damacy came out, there wasn't anything else like it. And now, like, it's hard for anything to live up to that. But I keep chasing that high because I just had so much fun with Katamari Damacy, and I'm really hoping to experience that again.
What do Katamari Damacy sequels have in common with Elden Ring? And that is you're always chasing a dragon. Yeah, I agree. The first Katamari Damacy was amazing. I don't think I've encountered anyone who failed to be charmed by it. And the sequels, somehow, I don't know if it's just you're right that they felt derivative. There wasn't that same spark. It's strange.
Yeah, like I played and it was fun enough, but I don't think I finished any of the sequels. Whereas I played Katamari Damacy to death. Like, I couldn't stop playing. Yeah, it's a little sad. But maybe Once Upon a Katamari is going to be it. It's been a long time since I've played a Katamari game. So maybe I just needed some distance. I'm also very excited to introduce my child to a Katamari game.
When Katamari Damacy Reroll came out on Game Pass, it's not on Game Pass anymore. But when it showed up, I'm like, oh, I'll install it, give it a whirl, 5 hours later. So good.
Yeah, that's like the remaster of the original, right?
Yes.
I didn't play that one. Maybe I should play that. After Once Upon a Katamari disappoints me, which I hope it doesn't. I'll pick up Reroll.
Just remind yourself about the original magic, yes.
Precisely. All right, what are you gonna shamelessly hype?
I am going to shout out Spine. So Spine is a third-person action-adventure game that is going to be released, that's going to be published by Nekki, who's also the developer. There's not a release date yet, but it looks super stylish. I am weak to any third-person action game where it's like, we just want to make you look like you're doing cool stuff. And Spine is absolutely like that. It's got kind of a cyberpunky aesthetic. There's a lot of gun fu going on. Maybe a little bit of superfluous slow-mo, who knows? All that kind of good stuff. So I'm looking forward to Spine.
Nice. Yes. It looks incredibly stylish from the trailers that are playing on the Steam page.
Yeah, actually, the more I watch the actual trailers, the less confident I am they're going to be able to execute on any of this. Like, the trailers have that look of something where it's like, yeah, that'd be cool if you could actually turn that into a game, but this is just marketing copy and mendacious marketing copy at that. Look, I have no specific reason to doubt this particular project. I've been down this road before, and with a developer and a publisher that doesn't have a whole lot of credibility because they don't have an established pedigree, who knows, but I can be cautiously optimistic about Spine.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I have no idea how it will actually be executed, but I hope it feels even 70% as cool as the trailers make it out to be.
That'd be a pretty good return, frankly.
Yeah.
Well, that is going to do it for this episode of All My Best Friends Are Digital. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're inclined to support us, you can check us out on patreon.com/amfad. You're going to find bonus content. You're going to find ad-free episodes. You're going to find our award-eligible newsletter and all manner of other such things. If you don't want to support us, thanks for just spending the time with us. We appreciate it a great deal. Hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody.
Yeah, bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to get in touch, you can reach us at allmybestfriendsaredigital@gmail.com. Hope to see you again soon.